Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well this very wintry season, which is pretty great. Just gonna check. I have a little bit of a setup here. It took me a little slower. Well, I'm always slow getting on, to be honest. Check with audio, see if that's good before I go into video. As I do, I will take this banner off. Yes, that was an original track from 2019, my first album, Sunkissed, and that's the track Sunkissed. And I'll take that off. Before I begin, I did get confirmation by oh, it's a little low. So is audio low to you guys? It sounds normal though. Okay, I could boost it up just a little bit, but I'm also talking low because as of midnight last night, I started developing a head cold. And I have a head cold right now. I'm not at 100%, so this rant might not be as energetic as usual. So if you guys have thoughts, prayers, well wishes, I could use them because I have the bodily energy, but my head feels like it's anyway. So okay, I guess I could boost up just the gain a little bit. I just don't want to come in hot just in case I get somehow my head cold goes away and then I get really angry or something because it could happen. All right. So I'm gonna, yeah, I boosted the gain a little bit. I'll keep the microphone close today. So we have that. And then we'll check out video. Okay, so video is good. I got my winter shirt. So we'll see how everything goes. So just a couple of things before we get started. Before I welcome the chat, this will be a rant, the great debate of AI art, AI music, but a couple things to consider because it's such a heavy topic and it can be convoluted. It's like, well, how do I organize this? How do I organize this discussion? And I believe this will be a two-parter, meaning I'm going to say one part, one stream, the second part, another stream, maybe next Sunday before the Christmas week. So this part is really going to be more the legality and AI news and what's going on in the AI space, in the circles, what is not so ethical about these AI circles and these companies. So it really will be more the newsworthy stuff and if this is illegal or unethical and whatever. And then because I actually have, I will say, I have a few articles to get through. These are really important to me. I run the risk of this being a boring stream, but it means a lot to me that I get through this information. So that's what we'll do. We'll go through. I'm going to be reading a few articles, a few things on the legality of stuff. Nothing too technical. This is more layman's terms and speculation. That will be this stream tonight, and then I would like to continue on the AI discussion, more ranting, more being outraged by people who are supporting these AI platforms. So we'll talk about the nature of these platforms and what they think, what the CEO and the company heads and the investors, what they think of the platform. And then we'll be also talking about certain lawsuits that are rising against these companies. Now, this is music. This is music generator, AI music generators, but I'm sure this spans the gamut of all art-related things concerning AI. So while it's specifically music for the articles, the discussion, possibly on the streams, this really does cover the whole artistic spectrum, visual art, writing, whatever the case is. Forgive me of my speech too if I slur my words just a little bit. That's part of the nasal congestion happening here. So I also might need to take a break for a second or so, but we'll get started. I did see Studio Super. Thank you so much. You say, okay, so you're giving me the heads up. Your phone is at 10% at the moment, so I'll stay on for as long as I can. Yeah, I think you said you were on the road. Thank you for the $5. You said you're on the road and you might not have a lot. Well, thank you for joining me on this live stream. But if you need that phone battery to contact people, please, I don't want you out in the middle of South Dakota, for instance, 80 miles from the next gas station without your phone. So if you feel like you have to reserve your battery, leave the stream. I know you can catch me on the replay. I do appreciate that. So yeah, thank you again for the super chat. I do appreciate that. And yeah, I did see that you were a moderator, so that's good as well. All right, let's welcome the chat before getting into the meat and potatoes of the argument. Oh, I also have a short list of disclaimers for people who, there we go. For people who would not otherwise agree with me. Well, you can't say this because of this. So I have I think 4 or 5 disclaimers that I do want to mention before I start with my own argumentation and own position against AI music. So let's welcome the chat. Should be interesting. And I got tea just in case. I usually don't drink tea. I got tea and water just to keep the head going. It's Bigelow green tea. Nothing fancy. But anyway, yeah, so Studio Super, welcome. Good to see you and that you are a moderator. That's wonderful. Brian Gilmartin, also wonderful to see you. You say, I've got a feeling we'll be hearing some harsh words. Maybe that will, maybe, if I get going tonight. But that will actually be most likely reserved for my position on people's reaction. Because I tell you what, like people's reaction to this whole debacle concerning the legality of AI, it's like, really is telling of the human condition, and not a good way. All right, and you say, well, not that I'm complaining. If I have something harsh to say for AI users, yeah, yep. But musicians, professionals use it, like, whatever. So you might also miss the first minutes, washing up before the stream starts. Yeah. Oh, you made it. Okay, good. That's good. Final Fantasy fan, good to see you. Always nice to see you. And music sounds great. It's not AI. I will never produce AI music. The only way I would ever produce AI music if I was producing it unwittingly. Like, I didn't know I was doing it. Like, if a tool that I used had an AI feature that I wasn't aware of, that's the only way. And I'll keep my eye out for that. But I think I should be good because my computer is so outdated. It's a new old computer. It can't really, on its operating system, can't really have much to go on anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. I've been waiting for this one, says my wonderful husband and channel member. Don't hold back, love. I hope not. I don't want to be ill. I woke up ill. I was like, no, the show must go on. All right. Samuel Proctor's in for the first 20 minutes. Good to see you. Scorpio Pio is also here. Good to see you. Let's see. I think that's... Oh, Big Al, my wonderful friend, is praying for me. Yeah. So I've had students this month that have been sick. It's not bronchitis. Channel member Adega Outlaw, good to see you. Hello. And also channel member Crystal Ashes, good to see you as well. And Private Eye, thank you for coming. All right, so let's get started because I want to get through this. Oh, let me let's see, get that off. I want to go through. So bear with me. I can understand if this is one of those streams where like, I'll catch this on the replay. I feel like I have to do to keep my thoughts very organized. So the bulk of this stream will be reading through articles with me interjecting my thoughts on different things, and some articles are lengthy and I'll skip what I think is not important to know, and then so a few articles, one is really short, and also talking about, we'll get to it, but talking about the criteria of something like fair use, and in a nutshell right now, before I get into the articles, what's happening at least in the last 6 months, since summer, relatively, June and July and August, AI companies are fighting to, what they're basically fighting for is for copyrighted material to be fair use. So I feel like it's worth combing through just at least the 4 main criteria of what fair use is, or what qualifies as fair use. And I don't believe maybe they don't know what fair use is. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not. I'm just the average Joe here, but they're they're working with language that is, I would say, a little manipulative and a little deceptive. They want fair use. I'm like, I'm not sure you know what fair use is, or you're trying to get around using copyrighted material, making a profit off of that copyrighted material, and claiming it as fair use. So I think it's fair to go over the 4 bullet points of what the qualifications of what fair use should be. But yeah, without further ado, thank you, Ghost Planet. Get well soon. I hope so. It's nothing like the month-long bronchitis I had like 2 months ago. It's just the winter weather. Before I get into the articles, I have a few disclaimers that I want to say. So basically, I'm going to have a position against AI. That's my argumentation. But I need to come clear with a few things. So disclaimer number 1, I am not an expert on the law. I am speaking as a musician, as a composer, and as a music educator. And this goes to writing. I'm also a writer. I'm not going to use AI generative technology to write a book. I'm just not about that. So even though we're going to cover some legal issues, it's not going to be technical legal stuff. I'm not an expert on the law. I'm even kind of slowly understanding the nature of fair use. So bear with me on that. Disclaimer number 2, I am not defending music record labels. I'm not defending the music industry, that the labels that are coming out, these major players, these major music groups coming out against AI. You know, they're corrupt, they're dirty players. For decades, they've exploited musicians and artists in different ways, in horrible ways. So just because they're filing complaints against AI, and just because I am personally, as an artist, against AI, it does not make me a person who defends, oh yeah, music labels, yeah, you rock, music industry. No. I think both are bad. I think generative AI is bad artistically and spiritually. And I also think that music labels, in many ways, many corporate methods that are utilitarian and also exploitative, that's also bad. 2 bad things. I'm not defending either of them, even if music labels are going against AI. So that was long-winded. So let me say that again. In my arguments, in my stance against AI, I am not defending music labels. I am not defending the mainstream music industry. Disclaimer number 3, I'm not speaking from the interest of making money or keeping music jobs. So a lot of people are griping against artists, saying, well, they just, I don't have sympathy for artists and sympathy for artists who for years have downloaded, free music content, and now they're complaining about losing jobs. I'm like, that's not a matter of interest for me either. I'm speaking solely from an ethical standpoint as an original music maker, someone who makes original music. Yes, not as a means of income. This is not a career. This is just, for now, something that I'm passionate about. So, people are complaining that artists are complaining against AI because, like, oh, you're worried about jobs and making money. It's like, I would love to make money off of my original music, but that's neither here nor there for me. I can continue making music, never making a dime on my music, because I just have to keep making music. So that's my stance. So just as a disclaimer there, I'm not speaking out against AI because I'm like, oh, they're taking our jobs and they're gonna exploit me and I'm not gonna be able to make money on my music. It's like, if music never becomes a full-time career, well, I'm a music teacher, but if composition never becomes a full-time career, it's like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm still against AI. 2 more. Disclaimer number 4, I'm not defending what may already be a broken copyright system. So people are complaining and saying, oh, the copyright system has always been broken. It's like, I'm just speaking from an ethical standpoint. And lastly, I'm not updated. I'm saying my arguments maybe not being updated on all the AI news. So articles that I'm reading out of, they are quite a few months old. The whole AI news, as far as I'm concerned, with that, it's been a season. It's been a couple seasons, so there may have been legal developments that I'm not aware of. So okay, real quick. I was kind of long-winded. So my disclaimers are: I'm not an expert on the law. I'm speaking as a musician, composer, and music educator. Not defending the labels. I'm not defending the music industry. I'm not speaking from an interest of making money or keeping jobs. I'm not defending what already may be a broken copyright law. And I'm not updated on most of the AI news. So those are my disclaimers. So there we go. All right. So anyway, let's take a look at the chat before reading some articles. Samuel Proctor sound engraver here, lawyer. I can't. With my congestion, I can't even say what you're saying. You say fair use. You keep using that word. Oh gosh, the chat's moving. You keep using that word. Oh yeah, yeah. This is worthy of a post. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Honestly, says Brian, AI is just another layer to the abuses that the music labels heap up on musicians. Exactly that. And even so, I don't think, like these lawsuits that these labels, which you'll see in a second, I don't think they're doing it as a matter of protecting artists' rights. I think they want to keep the money for themselves, which, okay, anyone is entitled to that if that's their original creation, or if they're a rights holder to that original creation. I don't think they're doing it in the interest of protecting artists per se. They just want, if money, if people are using this eye for commercial purposes, they are entitled. If that's their work being taken, they are entitled to that money. And people are accusing of these major music groups using their own AI methods. I'm not for that either, if that's the case. Maybe they're trying to squash the rivalry with these startups, these technological startups. I don't know what the situation is. Yeah, but I'm not for the industry myself. I'm an independent artist in that way. Thank you, Studio Super. You say, I can imagine some of the arguments that come up in the realm of drawn art. Oh yeah, absolutely. Is this any different when an artist mimics another artist's style and uses it for their own? There's just saying, and I think you were going to complete it. You don't have to complete it with a super chat, by the way. Thank you for the $10 super chat. We're going to get to that. Maybe not today. We're gonna focus on what's going on with the AI, but if not today, we're definitely getting to the meat of that next time, because the rhetoric is it's insane. It's insane. But thank you for the $10 super chat. And if you finish your thought, I'll go ahead and read it along with the super chat. All right. One sec. Let me just grab a swig of water and take it away. Again, it's three articles, one very short article at the end, and two medium length. I'll try to get through it as fast as I can. And then also, hey, what is fair use? If we don't really know what it means, let's at least get an overview of what it means. And then after all of that, we'll get back into the chat. Okay. Crystal Ashley says you got to run. Okay, I will see you on the replay. Or if you're chatting, if you're not chatting much, thank you for coming. Or thank you. A little more water, and then we'll get into the articles, because they're kind of telling. And this is music, but this is relating to all the art world. So 1 second. And with my head cold, I hope you guys can hear me. Just let me know if the volume is getting too low. All right, let's start the article. And this is the biggest article, and I'll try to go through this as fast as possible. The nice thing is it's written by the same guy from the same music company called Music Ally, which they're two separate words, but if you join them together, it spells musically. I was like, I don't really like the word ally, but I thought that was pretty creative. So let's share this first article. And, oh man, it's not, StreamYard doesn't put it in order. That's annoying. All right, I think this is the first one that I want to share first. No share audio. Okay, so this was this was written, let's see if you guys can see that. Oh, where's my StreamYard? Okay, perfect, perfect. This was written by Stuart Dredge. Let me put StreamYard in front. All right. Okay, everything looks good. Everything looks good. All right, I'll be away from StreamYard for just a second, just reading off of this. So this was written, and all these articles actually are written by this young man here, Music Ally, of Music Ally. And two of these articles, as you can see, are June 24th, 2024. And I think the other one is June 28th or something, so just a few days away. And then November. So there's a little bit of development, but not too much. And there's probably going to be a little bit of crossover. So I'll work through this as much as I can. Okay, labels body RIAA sues AI music firms Suno and Udio for copyright infringement. And the RIAA, I'm not sure what it stands for, but it's a conglomerate of the major music groups like Sony, Universal Music Group, and there was another one too, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But these are US records, major players in the main music industry. All right, let's first start here. My mouse is all the way over there. The US, let's see if I can try, see what that looks like. Oh, that's fine. All right. Oops, wrong one. All right, good. We're good. All right, so US labels, the body, the RIAA is suing two of the most prominent AI music startups, Suno and Udio, accusing both of copyright infringement, quote, on a massive scale. Oh, all three major labels are listed here. Sony Music Entertainment, Universal Music Group, Recordings, and Warner Brothers, or Warner Records. And I will say right off the bat, the whole copyright, content ID problems with YouTube, like if you post some music that is copyrighted, they are really quick to ding you with a copyright claim. So they're not my favorite. They're really not my favorite. But again, they are the ones filing these judgments against these lawsuits against these labels. Okay, so the body is seeking declaratory judgments that Suno and Udio infringed the label's sound recordings, injunctions barring them from doing that in the future, and the statutory damages of up to $150,000 per work infringed, plus the legal fees. All right, so these are just people involved with the lawsuit. Suno and Udio lawsuits, the details. So the lawsuits have been filed under existing copyright laws and thus focus on the technical aspects of how labels believe the two companies have infringed. So building and operating these services require that the outset copying Building and operating requires at the outset copying and ingesting massive amounts of data to train a software model to generate outputs. This is how one of the sections of the filings is spewing. I shouldn't say spewing, but claiming. The process involved copying decades worth of the world's most popular sound recordings and then ingesting those copies to generate outputs that imitate the qualities of genuine human sound recordings. Now, I'll just make this point right away. What they're saying here is the quality of the output. So if you have a major record label who has just award-winning mastering engineer services and they're producing really sharp, really high quality recordings that you really can't get without a good expert on the mastering process. Well, what they're saying is the output of Udio and Suno is really high quality, so it really is suspect that they would not take these recordings because of the high quality standard. Like, oh, well, these are high quality outputs. Where are you getting this award-winning mastery level? I think that if that's not the factor, that's one factor that they're claiming here, saying, okay, this is imitating the qualities of mastering engineers and really good sound recordings. So how are you getting this information exactly? And I don't know how old Suno is, but Udio is, it started like in April of this year, so April 2024. So these are very, very young companies. All right. In another relevant excerpt, the RIAA claims that Suno and Udio are, quote, not exempt from the copyright laws that protect human authorship. I hope they're not. Like any other market participant, they cannot reproduce copyrighted works for commercial purposes without permission. We're going to get to that. Because just, if you if you're interested in these, knowing more about these companies, I do highly recommend the Top Music Attorney, what's her channel's name? Top Music Attorney. I've been binge watching her videos on these platforms, terms of services and the like, and they do have a subscription tier. You can pay a certain dollar amount for having non-exclusive rights of your works. They have rights over your works as well, but you do, if you are a paid member, if you have a paid subscription of these, at least Suno, I know, then you can distribute your output, your AI output, to the major streaming platforms, which can be monetized. So yes, there's a commercial purpose in two ways. The first way is they're receiving money through a subscription tier, and then you can receive money if you sell it on Bandcamp or monetize an artist YouTube channel. So that's a big problem if we're talking about data having been, iterated by way of taking copyrighted material. All right. The lawsuits also focus both startups' anticipated defenses that any use of copyrighted music to train their models is, quote, fair use. Now, I'm going to make a case against that with the article or with another web page. All right, let's see. Let's continue on down. Okay, this is interesting. So the RIAA sees this as a gotcha, this fair use. Quote, fair use only comes up as a defense to unlicensed copying. So they don't have license to copy this. If Suno and Udio did not copy recorded music, why would they invoke this defense in the first place? I think that's a legitimate question. Both companies refused to come clean about their copying of sound recordings while simultaneously claiming that if they did copy, it was fair use. So if they are in the clear, this is a legitimate question. If they are in the clear, why are they not being transparent with how their models work? So there we go. All right. These are straightforward cases of copyright infringement involving unlicensed copying of sound recordings on a massive scale. Suno, and this is the chief legal officer, Dorosho, but I don't think he comes back in this article. He says, Suno and Udio are attempting to hide the full scope of their infringement rather than putting their services on a sound and lawful footing. Now, let me make this claim right now, because the question is there an ethical way of creating AI? Now, I would say, while I would not use AI myself, the one way AI can be ethical in this regard is that the AI machine is using data based on licensed works that these companies personally purchased. Because you can use sound libraries, you can purchase soundscapes, you can purchase demos for a podcast. There have been years of very highly sophisticated sound recordings and music that people compose to license out. So that would be a lawful way of the AI model working. But we're not seeing that with these two startups. To his Forbes talk, I did read the Forbes article. This, I believe, is the CEO of Suno, and he ain't my favorite. We'll get to some of what these two CEOs of these companies are saying. Let me check the chat real quick if you guys are doing well. All right. Oops, wrong one. All right, so who are Suno and Udio? This is, okay, I'll read through this as quickly as I can. At their core, this is for AI visual art too, guys. At their core, Suno and Udio are both text-to-music AI models. Users type in prompts describing what they want the systems to make, and then hit the create button and then see what comes out. We'll get into that, especially in the next stream. However, yeah, they have different advanced updates. We'll continue on. They say here, both companies warn users not to do this with copyrighted music. And both said that tracks created using uploaded audio would remain private to the user rather than published on their services for others to hear. Now, I think, if I remember correctly, at least with Suno, their terms of service contradicts this statement right here. Because if you are using Suno for free, your input and output can be used by Suno. They have license to that. Can be used by Suno to send to any other third party they want. So, as a matter of just human expression, let me say that again. As a matter of human expression, artistic expression, what you create in that platform, input or output, is not yours. If you are on the free tier, you do not have ownership to commercialize or monetize your AI creations. Now, they say here, according to this article, that the platforms say tracks that you create uploading, tracks created using uploaded audio would remain private to the user. Well, I think at least the free tier system with Suno, based on their terms of service, I don't think that's true. I think that's a contradiction. So if they're claiming that, I think that might go against their terms of service. I'm not sure. Again, I'm not the law expert here, but this is based on my memory. All right. Below here are just people, investors involved. Google is heavily involved with UDO as it's founded by former researchers of Google's AI division, DeepMind, which is a really creepy name, if I do say so myself. All right. So people, supporting, investing and supporting this technology, they're saying things like this. We're in conversations with many different folks, and we're building out new patterns for how artists are going to make money off of this in the future. So it is a commercial thing. We think there's going to be a whole new model around this, and we think it will be, or it can be, an equitable and really fantastic one. Now, when I see the word equitable, when I see that word, equitable to me means leveling the playing field, meaning people with 30 years of musical experience are pretty much at the same advantage as people with zero practice or musical experience. So I'm not in favor of that. He was a nice guy. I had a comment on one of my. I think I had a position against AI, and the comment it was for a short, and the comment was this man based in South America, and he wanted to tell me his albums that he did for AI. He's like, "What do you think? Isn't this music great?" And I said, "Well, it's good. I'm saying you have some flavor in this music here and this music here, but why do you need AI to generate this? Why not do it yourself?" And he said sincerely, and I think he kind of laughed. The response kind of was like, he was not mocking me, but he was laughing at the response, like, "Oh, well, I'm a doctor." It's like, I can't be bothered with learning music. It's like, I can't help you. Don't ask me, even if it's the most amazing thing you hear in the whole wide world. If it's from AI, do not ask me to give you feedback on your AI music. You won't like it. I'll say, "Hey, this sounds interesting, but did you make it?" And no, I'm a doctor with a family. I can't be bothered. It's like, then I can't help you. I'm a musician. And I've done this myself. All right. Now, continuing on down. Let's just make sure we're all doing good here. Why are labels suing Suno and UDO? The music industry has spent the past year and a half setting out its views on how AI music models and companies should operate and how they should be regulated. In a nutshell, here's what the industry wants: permission, payment, transparency, and protection for musicians. Now, I don't care what you think about the music industry, the record labels. I'm not fond of the music I'm not fond of the music industry myself, but if that's what they want, that makes sense. That's what I would want, even as an independent artist. Permission to use my music, so pay me a license fee, payment, the fee, transparency, and protection. Transparency, at least at this time, June 2024, is something that both startup companies have not been straightforward with. So there's that. All right, these labels, basically saying what was said before, they want AI companies to ask permission before training their models on copyrighted music. This makes sense. This would be the ethical way of companies doing this. They want them to pay to do it through licensing deals, and they want them to keep and share good records of their training materials. That makes sense too, so that the rights holders can check in on them. And they want laws to make it illegal to clone a musician's voice or likeness without their permission. So we've seen it with actors giving away their likeness rights for the film industry. That's not that I would do that myself as a voice actor or a on-screen actor, but if they've given permission, then that is an ethical use of their likeness. All right, well, moving on down just a little bit. And this is important. What the industry is pushing back against is the suggestion that AI companies shouldn't have to seek permission. So that's what they're going against, because AI companies are saying, hey, this should be fair use. We don't need to seek permission. So they're pushing it back against the AI companies, saying, no, we don't have to seek permission. We don't have to offer payments. We don't have to be transparent about how we train our models on copyrighted music. And this is mentioned on ChatGPT and rivals of ChatGPT and all that. Let's see. Let's continue on down. I'm going to go down just a little bit. Okay. This is, I think, toward the end of this article. Okay, so but why Suno and Udio specifically? Good question. First, it's because they are the two busiest AI music models with the most momentum in terms of users and media coverage. So they're commercializing. They're commercializing through subscriptions, and they're getting insane media coverage by YouTube, maybe by the main news outlets. So they're getting exposure. They're getting free marketing. So yeah, and then also so the second reason is they have a financial backing with Silicon Valley investors. They have a backing of 125 million in Suno's case. And third, they offer paid subscription models, so they're making money off of what could be actual infringement. All right. Fourth is both have been accused publicly of training their models on copyrighted music, as we say. Let's see. And there have been a petition. Artists have eventually petitioned against AI-assisted or AI-generative music. All right. So going back to high-quality music, this is important. When Music Ally interviewed Udio, we asked about the training materials. Quote, I can only get high-quality outputs if we train on a large amount of publicly available high-quality music. That's a weird thing to say. If this representative ding from Udio, that's a really weird thing to say. The first weird thing, very suspicious, is publicly available. What does that mean exactly? Well, that sounds like the open internet, which means it sounds like the machine has been working off of just listening to Spotify or Pandora or YouTube. It's like the machine can hear. You all have desktop audio capture. That's a basic technique that we have at our fingertips with technology. The machine can hear desktop audio, copyrighted or not copyrighted. It really doesn't matter. But what's publicly available, like anything is publicly available to our listening ears, to our eyes. So, well, especially our ears. And so this person is saying, well, I can only get high quality outputs if we have to train on a large amount of publicly available and high quality music. So where's the lo-fi? Not lo-fi as the genre, but where's actual low fidelity? Where's the public domain? Oh, well, that's just low quality. We want something sparkly and pristine and sounds good. It's like, well, okay, this sounds like you're getting copyright. Now, the song itself, like the song, the composition, is not the only thing that is a copyrighted feature. The mastering is also a factor of copyright. So you can have song rights, but maybe not mastering rights. Maybe you can remix the song, but you don't have ownership of a specific mastered song. So they're getting it from the open internet. It is apparent. All right. Okay, this is kind of important, but we'll get into the fair use for a second. We think that we can also show that when you are creating transformative... Okay, let me say that again. We think that we can also show that when you are creating transformative novel outputs, there's going to be a net good to the industry, added Sanchez, maybe a representative of UDO or Suno. Transformative novel outputs being a stronger point to likely use as a fair use defense. It's not transformative, we'll get into this. It's not transformative if it is taking away from the original, meaning you're making money off of what you have learned and putting the original at a disadvantage, an economic disadvantage. That's not transformative. And there's more factors at play, which we'll get to. Fifth reason, and we think this is a very important point, Suno and UDO are both really good at what they do, by which we mean the quality of their outputs is noticeably better than rivals who do not train on copyrighted music. So this is a really big correlation. Their output is enticing, it's sparkly, it's pristine. Their rivals sound more automated, it sounds more computer, it sounds lower fidelity. Because their rivals, as this article says, do not train on copyrighted music. Now, I won't say that's an absolute correlation because you can pay for a license of a high quality output. There are great music libraries out there that you can pay for that are really good. They have really good output. They sound great, they're mixed well, they're mastered well. But what I do see is that, well, no, we're going to just train on whatever sounds good on the open internet. And it's like, that's not ethical. This is a big danger for the music industry if the best models, a couple of responses. Thank you guys for listening and letting me do this because this is really important. If the best models are the ones that train without permission, and if they run away with the market, that's bad news for rights holders, obviously. The startups they see as ethical will be the ones straggling behind. Let me say that again. The startups they see as ethical will be left strangling behind. You've heard the phrase probably, nice guys finish last. So the people, the law abiders, people who adhere to proper law, they're the ones they're going to be left behind in the marketplace and the share of the profits. That's not an ethical view, So that's a problem. I will say that's a problem. Almost done with this article, and then I'll go back into the chat real quick. All right, so here's Suno responded to the lawsuits with a statement from Mikey Schulman sent to Music Alley by the company's representative. So let's see what this CEO of Suno has said. Suno's mission is to make it possible for everyone to make music, meaning people with zero practice and zero musical education or experience. Our technology is transformative. No, it's not. It is designed to generate completely new outputs. That is not true. It's not being original. Not only to memorize So he's saying it is designed to generate completely new outputs, not to memorize and regurgitate pre-existing content. But what was the content you used exactly to get that data? That is why we don't allow user prompts that reference specific artists. Okay, well, that's nice. That's a comforting thought, but where did you get your data? Because you got them from specific artists. So even if the person can't say, I want to make a song like Taylor Swift, chances are you could have had your machine learn from Taylor Swift, even if you're not allowing the user to put in Taylor Swift as a prompt. Let's see. We would be happy. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is important. we would be happy to explain this to the corporate record labels that filed this lawsuit. And in fact, we tried to do so. We tried to do so, but instead of entertaining a good faith discussion, they reverted to their old lawyer-led playbook. It's like, okay, maybe, again, I'm not defending the record labels, but so what? So what if they want to take you to task? Suno, he says, is built for new music, new uses, and new musicians. We prize originality. And this is my main point, at least for this article. You cannot be more original than if you do it yourself. Everyone is created uniquely by the image of God. I am not like you. You're not like me. We could be the same sex. We can be the same religion. We could be of the same nation and share the same language and political views, but we're still amazingly unique as individuals. There is no better way to be original than to do it yourself. The AI is using more and more of what is feedback, what it knows. It's going to learn more and more what it already knows. And in human beings are the same way, but we're always original. And you're always spontaneous when you create by yourself. You can create intuitively, you can create by the rule book, but there's always going to be an element of you producing something that no one else in the world could produce. Even if they're the same field of artistic expertise, everyone is different, and you are never going to be original if you are doing music through these platforms. So we prize originality. I would have him put his money where his mouth is, aka get rid of the subscription tiers and just let the machine run on its own without any human input. That's where I would say, hey, let me challenge you. If you really prize originality, you'll let the machine create what it wants and not have any human input. It just sounds like swindling a little bit. Swindling. He's circumventing. All right. I think I'll finish that one. So I'll stop sharing that one. We'll get into the chat, and let's see how you guys are doing this, handling this. The next two articles are much shorter, and then I'm going to talk about fair use with the definition. All right, we've got a few new people. Amy L, good to see you. Ace is also here. Have a good stream. We'll catch the replay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Amy L says, stealing music to train AI is absolutely not fair use. Just like stealing text to train AI isn't. Yeah, exactly. I don't have any hope governments will do the right thing, though. Yeah, I mean, I think this will have to... I'm against AI, but I just have to say we have to let this play out. And I think there will always be a division. There will always be a divide. I think there's a lot of people who are not for AI. There's a lot of people who are for AI, and they'll continue listening to AI and continue watching AI film or writing or reading AI generated novels or whatever. But I think also AI is still a very novel thing, and I think when the novelty wears off, it's going to go. And I'm going to give you one example of hope for this. There are YouTube music channels that even say that this is AI music channel official number 1 or whatever. You can see on their screen by their name, by their videos and their thumbnails that they are producing AI music, generating AI art, and they admit it. There has been a pattern I've noticed, at least with 3 or 4 of these channels that I checked out. Not to listen to their music, but just to see what they're publishing. First of all, this is the pattern. People will upload like an album per day. Between 12 and 30 tracks that are each 4 to 5 minutes long. Speaking from experience, it takes a long time to release an album. It takes a long time to release a single. And I'm trying to get better and faster at that as I get older. But it just takes time to release music, to get it to where you want and be proud to send it out into the world. These channels, they they produce, and this one guy from this doctor from South America, he's like, check out my channel, check out my music, and he's producing. He did 2 to 3 albums, and each album, from my memory, at least the one that I saw and heard, I did listen to his album just for a little bit. It was like over 20 tracks, this album. And I think 20 tracks, and each track is like 4 to 6 minutes long, 7 minutes long, like between 3 and 7 minutes long, which is a very long track. So 20 of those, 20 plus tracks for a music album. And then he did that. And then the next 2 weeks, he did another one. And the next month, he did another one. Now, the ones that are prolific in their AI generation, they will produce an album and release it every single day. But the one thing I have noticed about these channels, not all of them, but it's coming, is that they'll produce all this content like 5 months ago, because it was really big 5 months ago. But then I don't see any new content after 5 months, after 4 months. But by the time it's like, oh, the most recent album published was like 4 months ago, and nothing more. I can only speculate that it's based on boredom, or they're getting frustrated with the technology, or the shine has worn off. The novelty has worn off. And that's what happens when you don't pursue your artistic experience, your artistic journey to get better on your own. So there is a little bit of a silver lining when it comes to that. And so I just want to give a bit of a message of hope. I think AI, at least in the way of music generation, from what I can see, I think it actually will wear off. The shine will wear off very fast. And those people who've been working at the music industry for years, they don't have to rely on this technology. So when the technology goes bad somehow, or where lawsuits really start regulating these companies, whatever happens that leaves these creators at a disadvantage, they'll move on. They won't stick to the creation process because they're not trained to. Their brain is not trained to. They've not been creative out of a habit. You know, like my music making is a thing of habit for many, many years now. I started music when I was like 8 years old. That's coming on 30 years of music making. Being a musician, music education in some way, whether I'm a student of a violin teacher or a college professor, or I'm teaching music myself. So yeah, and so let me, I do want to get back to the chat, but before I get too far gone into this, let's actually look at article number 2. This is UDO's response to the lawsuit. So I'll probably skip most of it, but there were some telling things. So 1 second, let me grab some water. And share that one. So this is a shorter article than the last one, and made by the same guy, written by the same guy. Present. All right. So this is a couple days. So he wrote 2 days after this. So I think whoever this person is probably following the story, or was following the story pretty closely here. All right. News. UDO responds to the RIAA lawsuit as body hits back at Suno CEO. UDO. I'm calling it UDO because it's probably studio without the ST. All right. Suno statement. So one of the AI generative music platforms, Suno's statement in response to the RIAA's copyright infringement lawsuit was punchy. And actually, I didn't bring up his response. It's very, we'll probably see a little bit of what he says here. Excuse me. I could sneeze at any time. Forgive me. All right, so it was less punchy. Now the other, was punchy. So now the other AI music startup targeted, like it's a victim. UDO has put out its own views. It It's a less confrontational tone. It nevertheless stood firm on its belief that it qualifies for fair use status. We'll get into fair use soon. Here's the most relevant bit for that. Generative AI models including our music model, learn from examples. This is a little, dare I say, a tiny bit offensive and also invalid. So generative AI models, including our music model, learn from examples. This is what he's saying. Just as students who listen to music and study scores, our model has, quote, listened to learn from a large collection of recorded music. This is Udio's statement. Let me just stop right there. You cannot compare how a machine learns, especially a generative AI machine. You cannot compare how a machine learns to how a human being learns. So what he's saying is, just as students listen to music and study scores, and then they compose their own songs and their own pieces. It's like, okay, listen, I can have a Mozart violin concerto memorized from start to finish. I would know exactly what happens in my brain, what Mozart did in the next measure, in the next phrase, in the next section. But I am not going to output exactly what I learned from Mozart. Maybe I can learn his ABA structure, his sonata form, his way to move from a major key to a minor key. Maybe I can see what he's using with the bass line. But in no way, by learning how to analyze a Mozart violin concerto or Mozart sonata, I'm not outputting, by my own learning as a human being, I'm not outputting exactly what Mozart did. I can use some elements of what Mozart did, and then do it in a fresh, unique way that is signifying my time in human history in the 21st century. I'm not outputting what sounds exactly like Mozart. So this whole comparison of machine in this day's technology to students listening and analyzing scores, it's like, Gershwin, one of the greatest American composers, very short-lived, unfortunately he had a very short life. He learned from all the classics, but he generated something that was uniquely Gershwin. John Williams learned from Wagner, learned from all the, learned from Stravinsky, from Puccini. He learned from all the great 18th century to early 19th century classics of both orchestral scores and film scores, but he's uniquely John Williams. So this weird comparison, it's not even a comparison. You can't compare a human learning something and outputting something to a person learning and studying something and outputting something, because the human person is going to output something unique to them, even if they've learned what Beethoven does. I use, in a couple of my tracks, I have used specifically Beethoven chord progressions in the lower part of my harmonies, but I'm still sound engraver. No one could say, that sounds like Beethoven. They could say, oh, well, that's a little Beethoven, but that's your music. It's like, yeah, it's not Beethoven. It's just, I know what he did with figured bass, and I love what he did with figured bass, and it's still electronic music. So this comparison is really, it's offensive because it's like he's trying to make us think like, I don't know how to put it, but like a first grader. He's trying to convince us like we're 6 or 7 years old. You cannot make a comparison with how a machine learns and how a human being learns. That's all I'm saying. All right, continuing on down. He says the goal of model training is to develop an this is also very important. He says the goal of model training is to develop an understanding of musical ideas. He says the basic building blocks of musical expression that are owned by no one. And this is true. They aren't owned by anyone. Our system is explicitly designed to create music reflecting new musical ideas. Okay, let's talk about his stance here. No one owns the basic building blocks of musical expression. No one owns a chord progression. No one owns music notes. No one owns music note values. Like, you don't own a quarter note. You don't own a dotted eighth note, 16th note section. You don't, or dotted rhythm. You don't own swing. You don't own harmony or the low end of a lower register. You don't own an instrument. Things like this. He's saying you don't own rhythm. You don't own bass. You don't own harmony. So this is this is how we're operating. And it's true. I don't own a quarter note. I don't own a chord progression. But Shakespeare didn't own the alphabet either. John Steinbeck doesn't own any words. Tolkien doesn't own any sentence structure. And they're all uniquely different writers. So again, he's talking to us like he's trying to convince us like we're 6 years old. Guys, no one owns rhythm. No one owns a type of harmony. It's like, well, that's true, but so many artists. I just listened to Rick Beato, for instance. He was going over. I came late into the live stream, so I don't know exactly what song he was analyzing, but he was analyzing a guitar. With guitar, he was analyzing a chord progression that was really popular in the 1970s. Yet so many different artists use that structure. Beethoven, Haydn, Mozart, all their contemporaries used ABA form. They all used sonata form. No one owned the sonata form, the classic sonata form, but they were all very different using the form. So these people who start up these music generative AIs, they're either trying to swindle you into thinking something else that's not true and taking your money. I have no doubt, or they don't know what music means, which is likely true, the way the kind of language they're using here. So yeah. Anyway, one sec here. We are completely uninterested in reproducing content in our training set. Operative word here, reproducing. And in fact, have implemented and continue to refine the state-of-the-art filters to ensure our model does not reproduce copyrighted works or artist voices. Now, according to top music attorney, I have a hard time saying attorney today. Top music attorney. She had she had talked with people working behind the technology of AI modeling and generative AI, and they say, no, we don't store copies to learn from. The music learns, and that's it, and that's what they know. It's like, it doesn't matter that you, to me at least, ethically speaking, it doesn't matter that the machine doesn't store actual copies. The music knows what to copy. That's the point, because it has now the knowledge and the implementation and the iteration of saying, oh, okay, that's what you do to make a Mozart sonata. Okay, I'm going to make a Mozart sonata. It's like, oh, but we don't have it in the data banks. We don't have it stored in the data banks. You're fine. Our copyrighted stuff, it's actually not in the data. It's not in the machine. It's like, it doesn't matter. The machine has knowledge of this to produce something, maybe not replicate it per se, but make it sound exactly like it to our ears, to our human ears. Maybe technically speaking, the computer says, no, this is not a replication. I've not made an exact copy, even though you hear an exact copy. It's like, there are different nuances that my interpreter interpolated and stuff like that. It's like, but we human beings hear it as the same. I think that's the most important distinction. It's like, maybe the computer can honestly say it's not the same thing, but our ears, oh no, your hearing is subjective or you're tone deaf. It's like, no, I know what the violin concerto Mozart made in the key of A major. I know the melody. It's like, no, I did not repeat the theme song for The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. No, you're just hearing it wrong. It's not completely accurate. So they're using words like reproduce or replicate in very suspicious ways in the language. All right, this is the next thing that really grinded my gears here. UDO is keen to place itself in the lineage of past disruptive music-making technologies. Quote, synthesizers, drum machines, digital recording technology, and sound recording itself. They were ultimately embraced by musicians and the industry. Okay. So the thing is, now he's comparing an AI-generated technology that does the work for you with synthesizers. What effectively is a synthesizer? All it is a new instrument to play with. But synthesizers did not replace the piano. And early in the 70s, you had to learn things like not only basic piano skills to play chords off of on synthesizers and stuff. You had to be a keyboardist. You had to be a pretty talented, especially like in a Pat Metheny band or whatever. You had to be you had to have sub piano chops to work with synthesizers, and then you had a new skill with synthesizers, at least analog synthesizers, is you had to know signal flow and voltage control effectively. Like, oh, that oscillator is going through here, and it's distorted here, or it's taken on the waveform here. So on top of being a piano player, you had to start learning how the analog signal flow was working to produce a new sound. Yes, it's not a piano sound anymore. It's not a keyboard sound, but the piano itself had at least 400 years of actual evolution. Like, I think it started in the late 1500s, 1600s, and then it developed into the grand piano as we know now in modern day. It's just a new feature. It's just a new instrument. Synthesizers don't compose the music for you. You still have to make sure in your whole synthesizer orchestra, you still have to know how to work with structure, harmony, melody, and musicianship. Synthesizers did not do the work for you. They were just new instruments. Drum machines are the same. Well, you don't play drums, but you're working with drum machines. You're still working with rhythm and trying to get better and better with rhythm. Digital recording technology. I'm still a violinist recording myself. I still know how to play violin. It's not all of a sudden like, oh, I'm recording my violin with a microphone and a digital audio workstation. Oh, I no longer know how to play violin. No, I still know how to record myself. And then the sound recording itself, it changed the music industry. Yeah, I mean, it changed it for different ways, for better, for worse, but it's not doing the work for you. It's not making the music for you. It's just providing new avenues on how to get your music out. So we're not 7 years old to be persuaded. It's weird that they're making these comparisons. All right. He says, or it, who's it? I don't know. Udio is suggesting this. I don't know. Virtually every new technological development in music has initially been greeted with apprehension, but ultimately proven to be the boon for artists, recording companies, music publishers, technologists, and the public at large. This is a non-comparison. This has nothing to do with what AI is specifically doing. And people still, if they stole music through these new, 20th century technological booms, they're wrong too. You don't take copyrighted music. So, it's true. Let's see. Maybe I can. Okay. Let me continue on down. Oh yeah, this is important. Okay, so the RIAA lawsuits aren't purely about apprehensive vibes. No, they're about a firm belief. Oh, I can't speak for the music industry, but this is what the article is saying. They're about a firm belief that a specific way models like Suno and Udio have been trained infringes copyright and does not qualify as fair use. If the lawsuits get to court, the companies will need. This is very important. Let's highlight this. If the lawsuits get to court, and this was back in June that this was written, so could have already been have taken place. If the lawsuits get to court, the companies will need to disprove that, rather than prove that the music industry is just worried about a new disruptive new tech. I didn't read that right, but you know what I mean. So basically, basically what these companies have to do is prove that they did not use copyrighted music for the machine to learn without paying a license fee for. They have to in court prove that, rather than say, oh, this is like a speculative thing, like, oh, it's all speculation, people are just afraid of new technology. It's like that has no weight for your case. So all right, let's see. Representative of RIAA is saying Suno continues to dodge the basic question: what sound recordings have they illegally copied? Now, again, copied is a shaky term here, because they're saying, well, we don't copy this music. We don't have any copies, any unlawful copies in our storage. Like, that does not matter. The machine knows what it knows now. All right, let's see. Okay, I think that's probably what I want to say here. Okay, so let me stop sharing here, and that will be the last of that. And see what you guys have to say in the chat. Might have to take a few minutes, a break here in a second to get to the chat. I do want to talk to you guys for sure. New member Isaiah Trice Music. Thank you. Appreciate you. Hope you like what you have to say. Welcome to the group. But yeah, welcome. Thank you for becoming a member. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just take a few minutes break. We have one more, well, two things. What is fair use? And it's a short, concise description of 4 factors, 4 pieces of criteria on what fair use is, and why I think the AI companies are not being right and trying to make copyrighted music fair use for their machines to learn. And then a very short article on who's trying to fight for saying this, like, this needs to be fair use. So let me take a second. I need to probably warm up my tea, and I'll put on some music for you, and I'll be right back. Oh, I got it. And I got to sneeze anyway. This is great. Okay, one sec. All right, guys, thank you so much. My tea is hot, I hope. Let me get back to putting the video on. Okay, cool. Going back to the chat. Now, let me just go ahead and thank you guys so much for, oh, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. So first of all, thank you, Isaiah, for becoming a new member. And thank you, Crystal Ashes, for gifting people 5 new memberships. This is great. Members, I will make more videos, but videos will include channel members at the start of the video or the end of the video, depending on what's most appropriate. So I do appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much for your support. Let's go ahead and whoops, where's my comments? That's weird. I never did that on StreamYard before. We will go. I promise I will get to the chat. Let me go through fair use first, and then we will be done with the articles. Excuse me. So, my disclaimer list, I can put that over there. Share. Well, that's not share. All right, share screen. All right, fair use. This is somewhat, I'll try to be as brief with this as possible, but we'll see. Hey, can you see that? FAQ. Yeah. All right, so fair use. What is fair use? So again, I'm bringing this up because these AI companies are saying we ought to feel, we feel that copyrighted music now it's at the, I don't know how it's developed now in December, but back in this late summer, early fall, people are saying, or AI companies were saying, we believe taking copyrighted music from the open internet, probably. I can't be sure that that's not what they said, but copyrighted music in general should be fair use. Okay, let's go through fair use. And this is somewhat lengthy, but I'll breeze through it as, again, this is for all art, not just music. All right, fair use is an affirmative defense that can be raised in response to claims by a copyright owner that a person is infringing a copyright. Fair use permits a party to use a copyrighted work without the copywriter's, the owner's permission for the purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. These purposes only illustrate what might be considered as fair use and are not examples of what will always be considered as fair use. I think I read that right. Let me highlight this. In fact, there are no bright line rules in determining fair use since it is determined on a case-by-case basis. I think that's fair. But copyright law does establish 4 factors that must be considered in deciding whether a use constitutes a fair use. These factors are, let me bring it up here. The first one, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for nonprofit educational purposes. The second factor, the nature of the copyrighted work. The third factor, the amount and substantiality of the portion used in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. And factor number 4, the effect of the use upon the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. All right, so let's talk about factor number 1, the purpose and character of the use. So the first factor mostly focuses on whether the use is commercial or non-commercial, and whether the use is transformative. If a use is commercial, it is less likely to be fair use, and if it is non-commercial, it is more likely to be fair use. So if you're not making money, if you're not monetizing it, if you're not making a profit off of it, then you may have a right to claim this as fair use. Transformative uses are those that add something new with the purpose, with a further purpose or a different character. And transformative uses are, transformative uses do not substitute for the original use of the work. If the use is transformative, it is more likely to be fair use, and if it is non-transformative, it is less likely to be fair use. So let me give you an example. A lot of rap artists and electronic artists will go to classical music, major classical music themes, like Ein kleine Nacht music, Symphony Number 40. Both pieces are by Mozart, and then they'll put like a drum kit under it or a dubstep spin around it. So they'll flavor something that is classical, something that is from a string ensemble setting in the concert hall, to like a hip hop dance model or formula, whatever the case is. That hip hop flavor is transforming the original Mozart theme. Now, Mozart is public domain, even though YouTube has says it's not been, unfortunately for some musicians. But the point is, it's taking what we know to be the original string ensemble or symphony orchestra and making it in a hip hop manner. That's that, in at least in my book, that would, okay, we know that that's the symphony that the theme for the symphony number 40. We recognize that, but then the artist just takes that and then does his own hip hop version maybe of the symphony, or maybe he does something completely different, but just using that theme. It's not taking away from the original. We know what the original Symphony 40 theme and music is supposed to sound like. So same thing with like Beethoven or something that is really famous and used in a transformative way. All right, factor number 2, the nature of the copyrighted work. Okay, so the second factor considers the nature of the underlying work, specifically whether it is more creative or more factual. Use of a more creative or imaginative underlying work is less likely to support a claim of fair use, while use of a factual work would be more likely to support a fair claim. This factor also looks at the publication status of the copyrighted work. When the copyrighted work is unpublished, the use is less likely to be fair use. I did not know that. I don't know quite why. I don't know if I have an example for this. Maybe I can, let's see. So maybe a factual thing is writing a biography of an artist and using their music to maybe using their music that they wrote during a time of upheaval, whether it's a social upheaval or maybe something that happened to the artist in his or her domestic life or something, as a matter of producing a biography. I can imagine that would be more for fair use because it's a biography of the artist. I could be wrong about that. I'm not a lawyer. And then, so more creative is like maybe writing a novel and saying, oh yeah, Steinbeck used this sentence here. I'm going to actually use that sentence for this novel. I was like, I don't know. Like if it's a very famous sentence, for instance, I'm not sure. Or even like a Tolkien poem. Like if you wrote like a fantasy, let's say you wrote like a children's fantasy, and then the child who loves Tolkien, or maybe not even love Tolkien, but put Tolkien's poetry in that body of work, that might be a copyright violation of copyright. So I don't really have a sure example of that one. All right, this is key. The amount used. This is factor number 3. The third factor considers the amount of the copyrighted work that was used compared to the copyright work as a whole. So where the amount used is very small in relation to the copyrighted work, the factor will favor finding fair use. So if you use something like maybe a snippet or a drum lick, or I don't know, I really don't know much about the music sampling industry. I really don't. But this is just an example. If you use a very small drum lick or as a sample from a Michael Jackson song versus like all of Billie Jean, you might have a case if you're using a very small, very, very small, maybe recognizable sample. I don't know, but that's just an example I'm going to give. But where the amount used is not insignificant, this factor will favor the copyright owner. This factor also considers the qualitative amount of the copyrighted work used. If the portion used was, this is key. If the portion used was the, quote, heart of the work, this factor will likely weigh against a finding of fair use, even if that portion was otherwise a very small amount. Let me give you a specific example. The theme music, or the music theme of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You don't have to have watched the movie. You don't have to have known anything about that movie to recognize the theme, the music theme of the of that movie. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I'm like, ba ba ba, like that. Like everyone knows that flute little trill, da 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 da. Like everyone knows that. Everyone knows that's from the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And so even though it's a very small part of the whole music theme and music suite of that film soundtrack, you don't really have a case of it being fair use. That's a recognizable musical gesture that you really can't take if it's not public domain. And finally, factor number 4, The fourth factor not only considers whether the defendant's activities may harm the current market, but also considers whether the use may cause any harm to potential markets that could be exploited by the copyright owner if the use were to become widespread. If the use harms the copyright owner's current and potential market, this is the case with the music labels, if it harms the the copyright owner's current and potential market, then it will be weighed against fair use. Along with the first factor, this factor is one of the most important in the fair use analysis. So this is the whole problem. I'm going to stop sharing for that. This is the whole problem with the AI companies' claims like this needs to be fair use. It's like, well, first of all, you're making a whole ton of profit off of subscription fees, and you, by your terms of service, I remember this, you have rights to this output that the machine has learned. Even though it's inputted by other human beings, you have rights to that you can market, and then you could sell to third parties and generate your own monetization from this kind of output. So this is really, really important stuff. You're using this as a commercial use, quite exclusively a commercial use. The only way I would say the only way this argument holds up for the AI companies is if they didn't have any customers, any subscription, profits from subscription, and any rights to anything, and they let the computer do its thing by itself, like no human input, none whatsoever. Then it'd be, oh, this is a not music lecture, but or it could be a music lecture, but maybe a computer science lecture in a university. That is the only way I could see the AI companies saying this is fair use. But until they stop making a profit off of this stuff, it's not fair use. It's not educational just because the machine has learned it. Darn it, my tea's not cold. Or it is cold, it's not warm. Oh well, I probably shouldn't have tea. Anyway, so finally, very, very short, this article was made in November, just to show you what these people are doing now, what they're trying to fight with is AI companies want training on copyrighted materials to be fair use. It's not educational. You're making a profit off of this. So we've got people from Meta, Google, Microsoft, Stability, Anthropic. I haven't heard of Anthropic. ChatGPT. Stability is I think Stability is getting lawsuits from Getty Images. Google says, by the way, Google is UDO, or at least former researchers of Google AI are onto founding UDO. Google, meanwhile, is quote acting like offered. Okay, sorry, let me say this again. Google, meanwhile, offered that training in AI is like the act of reading a book and learning the facts and ideas within it. Would not only be non-infringing, it would further the purpose of copyright law. It's like, are we dumb? It's like, yeah, I read The Lord of the Rings, and therefore I'm going to output something really similar to The Lord of the Rings. And maybe I might even take a few passages from Lord of the Rings and put it in my story. Maybe I'll even name one of my characters based on a Tolkien character, or a world setting, or a world land, a land, an island. Oh, Numenor is a nice name. Maybe I could use Numenor. It's like that's what Google's saying. It's like, oh, it's just like reading a book and taking in information. It's like, it's not the thing that goes in, it's the thing that comes out. And that thing being monetized and commercialized, that's the whole problem. So that's that, just to let you know. And there we have it. That's the end of my articles. Thank you guys for bearing with me. That's the first part. I know that was a whole hour and a half of just reading those articles. But this is the foundation, what I want to talk about with AI for the rest of this stream, and then going forward with how people are reacting. Because people who support AI, even if they're not founders of this company or developers, they do strongly support AI. And to me, this is not an ethical thing. It's not a matter of, oh, just use AI as a tool. It's like, this is not based on anything ethical from what I can see. So there's that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I need a full sound engraver or acapella of the good and the bad of the ugly thing right now. No, yeah, you can't take my likeness, my head cold likeness. Thanks for the $5. Appreciate that. All right, now we can get back into the chat. All right. Oh, good. Studio Super says, no worries, my mom's driving. Okay, that's good. I've driven across country by myself, and when you go through like past the Midwest and go towards the Northwest, it's like it is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's it's a lot of land and no communities. Um, all right, Samuel Proctor says, I still think the most convincing an eloquent argument I've heard against AI is the fiction we've had for 200 years: Frankenstein, Metropolis, 2001 Space Odyssey, and Terminator. Here's the thing, and I don't disagree with you. Yeah, I think that can be true. I'm personally not afraid of an AI takeover. I'm more upset and concerned with people behind AI. Like they're duping us. I think these CEOs behind these startup companies are duping us to thinking, oh well, human beings learn it this way, and we output and we're creating this way. It's the same thing with the machine. It's like I am not a computer science expert. I work in SuperCollider, and that's basically all I know about computers and how they work. But I am not going to. Have I been, guys? Have I been loud? I bet I have a hot mic. I'm gonna have to hear the replay because my signal went from green to yellow a few times. But anyway, but I guess the audio's been okay. What was I gonna say? I am not going to, even as a non, I'm not an expert on computer science, but I know that the way a computer learns something and outputs something is very different from how a human being does. And people say, well, you can't say it's not a comparison because you don't know anything about computers. It's like, I know enough where the experience is very, very different. And the thing is too, is like, you can output a song in a matter of seconds with AI, and you can't on your own. It's impossible. You could be prolific, but it's impossible as an artist to output so frequently. And it ought to be impossible. I don't want any. No, I just don't want. I want the human artistic experience. Yeah, Crystal Lashes. I mean, I have a head cold. It's not bronchitis. It's not the flu. Better not be the flu. I'll get better soon. Yeah, let's see. As an AI artist. Yeah. Oh, thank you. This is worth a mention. Oh, channel members get their provided that it's appropriate, channel members get their comments posted up, but salient points also get posted up. There's no such thing as an AI artist. There are only AI commissioners. Exactly. When you're working in AI, specifically AI assisted, I'm sorry, you could say, oh, it's a tool. It's like, okay, if you're putting in prompts to generate a specific output, you're not being an artist. You're being an art director. You're a commissioner. It's just, you are directing what the computer to compose for you. It's your composer, it's your songwriter, it's your instrument, it's your orchestra. It's your STEM technology where you can separate it into different tracks and like, oh, I made this. It's like, yeah, sure, okay. Final Fantasy fan says the copyright system isn't broken. People have been using it the wrong way. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know. This was more hearsay. Like, oh, people are saying the system, the laws are broken and it's not working. I was like, I'm just saying. I was making my position just as what I know to be ethical, even if the systems in place aren't the best, even if the systems need reform based on some people's opinions. That's that disclaimer there. Uh, all right. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Amy L says AI companies can just move to another country with some lax laws and pretend nothing happened. Could be true. Could be true. AI is evil, said Ghost Planet. Amy L continues, this is basically what translators warned years ago, that companies are stealing copyrighted work to train AI. No one listened to them. Yeah. People say, well, we're training the AI. It's a musical experience. It's like, or not musical, it's an educational experience. It's like, well, then don't make money off of it. just stop making a profit, and then maybe the court will hear your case. Now, the articles, as I said before, are months old, and so I don't know the new developments. Maybe the AI companies won the case. Maybe they didn't win a case. Maybe there's not been a case yet. I don't know. All right. A little bit. I don't want to look so sleepy. Huh, that's fine. I don't care. Not so sleepy. Amy L says the thing is that because generative AI learns, they can't explain how their models works. It's completely opaque. Yeah, I don't know. Like, do they know how it works? Do they not know how it works? I mean, that's a bigger issue. It's like if you don't know how it works, then you can't make a claim that the AI is not infringing, like, because you wouldn't know. You can't go to court saying, well, I know for sure that we're not using copyrighted material if you don't know how the model works. It's so convoluted. It's so messed up. I was drinking, not really. It's like green tea, Bigelow green tea, Crystal Ashes. Amy L says, my thesis advisor actually worked with some company, forgot which, maybe Google, to try to teach the AI how to explain themselves. Interesting. One Crystal Ashes says, oh, Crystal Ashes, you remember your comments go up. One point they forgot to bring up is that corporations can decide whether or not something is fair use. Interesting. Laws for thee, but not for me, as they say. Not good. Oh, I'm fine. Okay. Oh, did my chat jump? I'm at the end of the chat. Oh, maybe it's just not as much of a stream because there was a lot of articles and stuff. Next week, provided that I will feel better, I should feel better, I will rant about people's response to AI because it's horrible. It's bad, and I might be rude, like not rude, but like what I say might sound rude. It may sound malicious to people, but it's like it's not malicious. It's the truth. It's just the truth of how things are. Let's see. What was I going to say? Let's see what Amy L has to say. I've watched something on YouTube that basically says people in the tech industry think they are right and everyone else is wrong. That's the bottom of what this really is. I think that's true. It's like these people behind these music AI generator startups. They're talking to us, and the response to these lawsuits, they're talking to us like we're 7 years old, and then this should be the new model now. Like this is you if you shut us down, you're denying creative expression. That's what people are saying who use these models. Like you're denying. Like I have terminal illness. My mother has a terminal illness. It's like, what stopped you? Seriously, what? There's so. We might get to this response today, but it's almost 8 o'clock, so it'll be probably for another stream. And I don't want to lose my voice so much. But some people are saying like Suno Udio has given me my voice, my vocal expression, my musical expression that I never had, that I never could do. I could never do this before. It's like, why? Why couldn't you have done this before? The money, education is expensive. It's like, we have YouTube. We have free online expression. Now with YouTube, it has not been a better time to build your own skill with people who have voluntarily put their content out to show you how to learn an instrument, learn music theory, learn how to draw. Like, you have more than you have so much education that is free on YouTube. We I didn't I'm still paying off debt to get my musical education. It's like, yeah, I'm happy that I got 3 music degrees, but it's like, whoa, man, if I had YouTube now, 15 years ago, it would have been different. My educational experience would have been different. And actually, I had my first lesson with Eli Fieldsteel, who is always, as I always say, the go-to for SuperCollider instruction. He's a professor himself, but he gives tutorials online, and they're great. His channel is highly educational. You can really practice SuperCollider. Lately, I've just been stuck with SuperCollider because I haven't really practiced and applied it as I need to. Like, I've been practicing my skill building for making my EP, and all that great stuff, but I haven't really practiced SuperCollider like an instrument like I need to. And so I decided when I learned that he does give out lessons, I'm like, okay, I'll do 1 lesson a month, and I'll practice every day between lessons. And I've been practicing consistently since my first lesson, and it was a great lesson. It was like, and he's a great teacher. He's very much like 0 to 60 from your first minute to the 60th minute of the lesson. He just keeps going and going, and it was a one-on-one private instruction lesson. It was my first time being a student in years, and I'm used to hearing him in the way of a YouTube video. So like if I miss something, I can like scroll back a couple minutes, like, oh, okay, I really have to comprehend this on the fly because he just goes. But it was worth every minute. Like, it was worth the money. It makes me want to practice more, and there's nothing that replaces that. It's like, yeah, instruction, free or otherwise. Take music lessons for like $50 to $75 an hour, or learn instruction by the way of YouTube. It's never been easier to learn skills. And these AI people, they'll say things like, well, I have a terminal illness, or I have cancer, or I lost my voice several years ago. And it's tragic story after tragic story. And I'll get into this a little bit later, maybe next week, on how life is not fair, but how also you really shouldn't level the playing field for people who are otherwise doctors in South America. Like, I have a family, I'm a doctor, I can't be bothered with learning how to write songs and music. It's like, but check out my AI, like 1970s troubadour feel of this album. Isn't it cool? Isn't the art cool? It's like, you didn't make the art. You didn't make the music. Don't you understand? You're not going to be fulfilled. But it sounds great. It's like, it could sound great. I'm not saying it doesn't sound great. It sounds pretty high quality. But did you make it yourself? No, I didn't make it myself. I'm a doctor. I perform surgery. It's like, that's amazing. I'm glad you're a doctor. But if you have your free time, if your kids are graduated high school or something, or if you have some small hours in the night, if you have young kids or special needs kids, just work on your craft. If you really want to be good at music, you got to work on your craft. And yes, it's a lifelong endeavor. And people are so uncomfortable with that. It's like, no, I can't be bothered with doing this the rest of my life. And getting better, but after being really bad at first. Someone named Bob. I'll get better soon, she said in a low, raspy voice, almost cracking at the end. Is it cracking? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I teach 3 vocal students, but I'm so glad I don't teach vocal students as my main instrument. I can have a head cold and play violin and piano. Brian Gilmore. Oh, thank you. Now that you are a channel member, thanks to Crystal Ashes. AI art isn't art at all. Why? Because you didn't make it. The machine did. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like people are okay. We'll talk about a few examples if they come up, but definitely the example that infuriates me the most is people say, well, Suno is just an instrument you're getting better at. It's just an instrument. It's like, okay, it's not just an instrument. And I'll explain what I mean. the instrument, the violin, oh, it's over there today. The violin cannot compose the violin concerto for me. It cannot make my violin music for me. I compose the music and I play the violin. The violin is the instrument, but it does not do the composing for me. I do the composing. In the way of Suno and Udio, it's not an instrument. It's your composer. It's your composer. You're just paying it on the free tier with your time, but then on the higher pro tier or premier tier, whatever, you're just paying it to make music for you. You're not making your music yourself. And I do see people who use these platforms say, how do you do this? I hear that you're doing this and I really want to make it sound like that, but I can't figure it out in the technology. I'm like, oh, you can't figure out the technology? Are you saying the technology is a learning curve that you have to come over? Are you saying you have to apply like multiple prompts and it's a technological hurdle and stuff like that? It's like, meanwhile, the whole internet can go down. All of technology can go down. And as long as I have pencils, pens, and some staff paper, I can still compose melodies. I could still compose harmonies. Yeah, it'd be harder. I'd have to get musicians. I'd have to find ways to perform in the community, saying, hey, I wrote this. Here are the chords, guitar player, and stuff like that. But like, even if, like, yeah, that would be the end of my electronic music making, but I could still make music in some way, even if all technology went down. I could still play the violin, provided that my fingers are still working and my arm isn't cut off or anything. But even like these people are at the mercy of these companies. So if they go under or if they get sued and they have to be taken down, that's your only avenue for making music. Sure, you can find some open source or whatever, or you can find another company that's not been targeted yet or whatever. There will always be these startups, but you're at the mercy of whatever they can do. And not only that, your music is not yours. Now, if you're under the paid tier, yeah, it's yours, but it's also theirs. They have license to distribute your creations. It's like, why do you want that? Don't you want ownership, full responsibility of what you've produced? It's like, but you can't. You can't. All right. Chris Lashes says, this stream was brought to you by Skillshare. Just kidding. Some truth it is. Oh, wait, what are you saying, Crystal Ashes? Not actually true, by the way. That was just me being silly. Though there's some truth to it. What did you say? Oh, you mean from your super chat. Yeah, understandable. Yeah, thank you. You say it certainly feels like these corporos are exempt from the laws these days. It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, as long as we can say it's fair use, it is fair use. It's like, man, this makes me so mad. It's so unethical. Brian Gilmartin says, if you can do it without a machine, then you were never good enough to be an artist at all. Yeah. And people make the comparison, like, for digital arts, like AI, you do digital art, or AI music, you do electronic music. It's like, I do all the composing. All the music you hear, yes, it's technology, yes, it's electronic music, but I created all the melodies, the bass lines, the harmonies, the overall sound effect. I didn't have it generated. I didn't have it done for me. I'm just using different instruments. I'm not using analog instruments. It's true. Well, I am using violin for my upcoming EP. I did record violin, but then I'm adding sound effects and stuff like that. It's like, well, you couldn't make that without the computer. It's like, yeah, but I didn't have the digital audio. Like, Logic Pro didn't compose the music for me. I just was in Logic Pro, and I used all of what Logic Pro had and served something up. I made the soup. I think Google is, yes, Emil, I think it is Udio. Good grief, no wonder. Google has been doing evil since at least a few years ago already. I'm sure longer than that. Yeah. Professor Geek, my wonderful husband, mod, and channel member. A good example in the writing field is people who hire ghostwriters. They tell the writer what they want in the book about their life or whatever, but they didn't write the book. The one with the practice and feel of the language, when they agree not to receive credit, they have to be well paid for it. Yeah, yeah, that's a very good example. Yeah, it's I see some of these AI users and kind of like writers with ghostwriters. I don't know if I'm against the field of ghostwriting. If people say, "Hey, that's my business. I write these biographies for these people or whatever," and that's fine. But it's kind of like some of these AI artists. They never say AI is. They say, "Oh no, for empowerment." This one girl rapper, she's like, "For empowerment, personal empowerment, I made the cover art. I made the tracks. I made the music. I made this album." I was like, and I knew because I saw her comment from an AI video, I knew she was an AI user. And I got a little snarky. I don't know. She might have hid my comment, but she did not in her description, not in her title. By the way, if you're a free tier, you have to credit Suno. You have to credit Udio as part of terms of service. If you're using the free tier, you have to credit them for your songwriting. But she didn't. Now maybe she's a paid member. I'm not sure, but she in her lengthy description, it was like all these inspirations, all the genres, and all that, all like new technology. She didn't credit AI. So I put in her comments. I said, "Oh, is this AI? Which model? Which platform did you use? What's the best AI platform?" To make her aware that she did not bring credit, or she did not give credit to AI. She no, it sounded like she had a kind of socially tragic past. Maybe she had a domestic abusive relationship. I don't know. Based on her lyrics, she's had some personal tragedy, so she needs some form of empowerment. It's like the most empowering thing that you can do as a human being is make something yourself. I promise you. I try to tell this to students. I try telling this to people. It's like you won't feel better as a human being than if you apply your craft yourself. Oh my, someone named Bob. Thank you. Thank you for the $20. Just going to pipe in and remind everyone that programs like Hatsune Miku and virtual instruments exist. Disability is no excuse. If you are capable of enjoying music, you are capable of composing it without the aid of AI. I tell you, thank you so much for the $20. I'll just let it sit there for a second. I don't want to disparage anyone, and I don't want to demean anyone. I don't want to be mean about this, but it's just people. There's a flood of people coming in supporting AI, saying, "I cannot do this with AI because X, Y, Z. I have a disability. I'm caring for an elderly parent. And that's a big one. I'm not saying caring for an elderly parent, but what I'm saying is I have not had time to do this." I was like, "You make time." "No, I don't need to make time anymore because this machine can do it in mere seconds." It's like, do you feel personally satisfied? Please take care of your elderly parents. Like, that's a noble thing, but you need to prioritize. Okay, I got to take care of my sick mom. By the way, I know musicians who make music themselves who do have parents they live with that they're taking care of as elderly parents. So the time is there. How are you spending your time? Yeah, I'll say it again. The artistic endeavor is a lifelong endeavor. Yes, it takes time. But if you can give half an hour to your craft, maybe 20 minutes to your craft every day, you're going to do something. You're going to do something with that. So someone named Bob, you're saying programs like Hatsune Miku and virtual instruments exist. There are ways that you can compose. And some of the methods I'm like, I don't personally agree with or care for as a musician, but it's not the machine doing the work for you. It's you doing the work. And here's the thing. Let's bring this up again. Disability is no excuse. Can you imagine people who are disabled who produce stuff on their own? How are they seeing it as like, wait a second, I've been I've been disabled for 10 years, or I've been disabled all my life and I still have found a way. Like a real like people, oh, man, it's so convoluted. And I don't think I have all the things to say what I want to say, so that will be for next stream. But I have life is not fair, okay? Life is not fair. You're served life in ways that you did not expect or may not want. You know, it I'll just use this example. It doesn't matter how cool I think parkour is and how much it would be super cool if I knew how to do parkour. I'm too old. I'm not flexible. I'm not in shape. And I know parkour is a huge risk in my physical endeavors. Like, I could break an arm, I could break my skull with parkour. But, like, what if I really wanted to do parkour? It's like, I have to come to terms with, like, I can never do parkour. I will never be able to do parkour. And I've accepted that. I could watch the most inspiring parkour videos. Like, wow, that's so cool. And I could be happy for those people. But it's not my stature. It's not I'm almost 38 years old. It's like, okay, I can stay in shape for what I can do with my body, but I will never be an Olympian. I will never be able to do parkour, no matter how cool it looks. And I accept that. Now that's a silly example I'm giving, but it's the same thing. It's like, well, I've never been able to be a musician, so therefore AI has enabled me to be a musician. It's like, you're not a musician. No matter how you spin it, you're not a musician. You're not a composer. If you have something or someone else compose for you, it's like Prof with his ghostwriters example. It's like, you didn't write. Oh yeah, I was gonna make that comparison. You didn't write the book. Now maybe you're not crediting the ghostwriter, but you pay a ghostwriter a huge sum of money for that job. But it's like when people using AI do not credit AI. It's like, you need to credit AI. Now, fortunately, I think people by and large know whether they're for AI or against AI. They do know what is being produced as AI. I think they know. But I also have seen with this one rapper girl, she got credit. She's like, wow, you're so talented. And I was like, okay. And she's like, she didn't say, oh, this is AI. Like, I'm happy to be working in AI. She's like, thank you. I needed that empowerment. And I was like, I need to ask this question. It's like, now people are going to think AI is human beings. They do already. AI can actually take a music video of like an actual musician and paste like a supermodel AI generated face, and they'll get so many views, whereas the original video gets few views because like the girl is really good looking and stuff. There's a lot of devious things happening in AI. Like if I ever had a violin video and I was playing really good violin, maybe a classical piece or something else, maybe a video game cover, someone out there could take my video, change my face, get my form skinnier or more voluptuous, whatever. They could change the assets of my body. They could change my face. I have medium length hair. It's not very long. They can make it like brunette and flowy hair. And they could still take my violin playing. Then they can make my skin completely flawless. And that AI generated video can make more views than my original violin making video. And it's like, this sucks. It's like, that's horrible. So musicians are victimized. I mean, it's horrible. All right, it's past 2 hours. See, this is only part one of my the great AI debate. So we'll end it in a few minutes. No worries. Okay, you want to confirm Crystal Ashes. The thing that I said about fair use laws not applying to corporations, that's not actually true. Oh, I see what you're saying. That was just a silly joke, even though it does feel like corporations don't need to abide by the law. I mean, well, a joke comes from a little bit of truth, right? It's like, I think people are these corporate heads, these CEOs are trying to circumvent the law. That's not good. That's not good. So your joke has merit, I would say. New comments, new comments. Amy L says virtual instruments are actually not easy depending on the instrument. Unfortunately, as AI gets better, people won't even have to learn how to make virtual instruments sound good. Yeah, there is orchestration and instrumentation knowledge. There's a degree of know-how in electronic music. Not every instrument is going to sound great together, even if the production quality is good or your sample track is good. It's like, well, that doesn't sound good with this track. That instrument sounds too much like this instrument here. I need to find something with a more muted tone, a deeper register or something. I mean, it's still orchestration. It's still the matter of using specific instruments in a very effective way. So you're right about that. It's a learning curve on its own. Gonna dip out since I've got to work tomorrow. Okay, Brian, thank you. Oh, thanks, Crystal Ashes. You're like, why wouldn't anyone want to change that beautiful face? No, the professor may steal this one. Yes, yeah, he'll steal that one. Yeah. Well, I saw this the Wings of Pegasus. I don't really follow his channel, but his videos come into my feed. It's like a young British musician, and he talks about AI. And there's this one. It was like this beautiful moon Asian face with flow. Well, actually, she had different hair every time, but it was still the same AI face. So kind of a young Asian model with different hair that's like either long or just flowing in the wind, blonde one video, brown the next video, black the next video. But it was still the same face. I recognized it as the same face. Sometimes it was long, sometimes it was short. Now, there was one video of this face that was actually on an actual musician because the channel Wings of Pegasus confirmed he had seen that short video of this female guitarist play it, but it wasn't her face. It was a model's face on a different body, a real musician's body. I'm like, this is messed up. This is so messed up. Oh gosh. Megadeth, nice to see you. Star Trek holodecks. Tell the computer what you want and it will give it to you. Yeah. I mean, we've already had like was it Tupac or like, people will go see dead people's performance shows and concerts. It's like Whitney Houston, she was great when she was alive. Yes, it's sad that she's gone and I think she died fairly young. I'm sorry, I'm not going to watch a live show of Whitney Houston. That is weird to me. That's weird. I don't care how great the technology is. It's just weird. She had her time. She's still famous. Eartha Kitt will always be famous. Amy Winehouse, is she still? I feel like some of these artists, is she still around? But these songwriters, I mean, yeah, some have very short lives, but they're still known, Anyway, yeah, exactly. You say, I thought virtual bands were strange enough as it is, but at least that's still the band's music. What happens when we get AI bands? Yeah, we'll get AI bands, and they should be legally obligated to say this is AI. They better. Hello, Lance the Film Guy. Good to see you. Not only weird, but AI in general is just creepy to me. It's creepy, but I feel like people playing the game behind AI, I feel like they're creepier. I don't like them. It's weird, all right. Kiss just made themselves a virtual band. I mean, I'll look into that kind of stuff. Maybe I don't know what virtual band is. I'm not really clear on that. Yeah, going to live shows of people who have passed away is. I feel like we shouldn't do that. That's the stuff that science fiction is made off of. I mean, maybe the money goes to their trust or their family or whatever. But you gotta wonder, like, who's making money off of these shows? All right. Well, why don't we end it there? So this is I will be talking about AI more next week. And so today was more. Thank you for letting me go through the articles. I'm going through what's going on on the legal front with AI technology, music specifically, but also this pertains to all art. And next week, I really want to talk about people who support AI and what arguments they're making. And some of their arguments are, just to give it a little bit of a teaser. Some people argue what these company heads have argued. Oh, the machine's learning just like a human being is learning. Or, oh, I hate the record label. I hate the music industry. Therefore, I'm against them winning this case. It's like, don't trade bad for something that is also bad. They're both bad, at least in my opinion. These are both unethical uses of greed and exploitation and all of that. So just because you don't like the record labels doesn't mean you're gonna side with AI, stuff like that. Oh, thank you, my wonderful husband and professor. Kiss sold the rights to their music and their likeness to a company that will put on holographic concerts of them in the future. Interesting, I guess. Okay. At least that they gave him permission. I wouldn't do that. I'm not saying my music dies with me. No, I'd like my music to go on, but it's like I can listen to Michael Jackson songs, not him being around, Weird. AI. So Megadeth says, imagine AI Kiss avatars that makes their own music though. That's. So I don't know what Kiss has permitted, but that would be weird. That's where it's headed. Yeah, like it's setting a precedent. That's why these actors who have sold their vocal likeness or their facial likeness, after they die for longevity or posterity, I would never do that. Like your face could be in a scene that you would never do as an actor in real life, or your voice could say some odious things, not even in the context of a film, like if you're a villain or something, but like on a podcast or a live debate or whatever. Like if there was an actual podcaster and they asked you the AI questions and then all this stuff is spewing out of your mouth and because it's your likeness, it's like don't cross that. Don't cross that river. Don't cross that line. That's just not good. Not good at all. All right, so we are well over 2 hours. So I want to stop there. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. More on AI next time. And thank you guys always for your support, becoming members, and the super chats. I do appreciate you guys so much. And I will see you next time. So until I see you, keep producing, preserving, and promoting good art, not AI art, but good, real art, human art. And I'll catch you later. Thanks.